Hello everyone, and thank you for taking the time to listen to our presentation. In this presentation, my team and I will be talking about our implementation of Gradescope, an online grading platform first developed at UC Berkeley. It's used for grading exams and homeworks electronically. It's very popular with computer science faculty since it can also be used to automatically grade programming assignments. My name is Elizabeth Hodes, and I'm the Senior Director of the Academic and Research Computing Services team at Harvey Mudd College. The other members of the team are James Sadler, our Instructional Technologist, Yi Luo, our Instructional Designer, and Ashita Kisarwani, our Scientific Computing and Data Science Specialist. HMC is a small liberal arts school in Claremont, California, located in Southern California about 30 miles east of Los Angeles. We're one of the 7 institutions that make up the Claremont Colleges Consortium, along with Pomona College, Scripps College, Claremont McKenna College, Pitzer College, the Claremont Graduate University, and the Keck Graduate Institute. We focus primarily on STEM education. HMC has only 850 students, so we are very lucky to have a 4-person team devoted to educational technology and scientific and research computing. After a brief introduction to Gradescope, James will pose some questions on the advantages and disadvantages of traditional paper grading and why Gradescope might be useful. E will then talk a bit about how we chose and implemented Gradescope at HMC. Ashita will describe a CS course that we supported last fall that used Gradescope successfully alongside other tools. Finally, James will pose some more questions to think about with respect to how you yourselves may have implemented online grading tools. You can get a good sense of how Gradescope works by watching this brief video on YouTube. Our faculty also really love Gradescope's AI-assisted grading tool, so it's worth watching that video as well. At HMC, we have purchased an institutional license, which includes integration with Sakai, our course management system, and integration with our single sign-on. Faculty can sign up for free accounts, but they are limited to 2 semesters. I'm going to turn the presentation over to James now, who will talk about why Gradescope can be such a useful tool.
Hi everyone. So I remember walking past one of our large auditoriums back probably 10 years ago now, and seeing this large stack, just as this picture uh, denotes, of test papers after a midterm was being given in the auditorium. And I remember thinking about how painstaking it must be to go through every single one of those tests to handle just simple grading. And we found out later that for a lot of these large classes, faculty were either using a large pool of teaching assistants or the faculty were dividing the grading in between them. And doing that creates a lot of variability in how the grading is done. Yes, you can have rubrics and you can have a whole lot of things, but there's still just a variability on who is grading what. And the consistency of answers can vary greatly. So one of the great aspects of Gradescope is this ability to reconcile that, to make it easier for faculty to grade these large swaths of tests, to make it unbiased, to make it consistent throughout the grading process. So these are some questions we would like you to ponder as you go through this presentation. Normally we would ask you to do this while we were giving this session and have a nice little discussion afterwards, but obviously with the state of things, that's not possible. So what are the important aspects to consider in grading? And this isn't just for digital platforms like Gradescope, but paper-based as well. So in general, what are things that are really important with grading work? Secondly, what are the advantages and disadvantages of paper-based grading in STEM courses? And with that, I'm going to hand it off to Yi Lo, who's going to talk about some of the things we've done at HMC.
In terms of the use of Gradescope at Harvey Mudd College, the computer science department has been using Gradescope for a number of years, and pilots had been done with faculty from chemistry, biology, and math departments. A feedback survey was sent to faculty to assess how many faculty are currently using Gradescope and to gather data on what features were important to them. As you can see in this pie chart, 27 faculty responded to the survey from all departments except humanities, social sciences, and the arts, and the Department of Physics. The breakdown of faculty by department can be seen in the chart. Most of the faculty who responded had used the Gradescope between 1 and 3 years. 5 faculty were using it for the first time, and another 5 had not yet used it, but were interested in trying it. In the survey, faculty were asked to state their level of agreement with a number of statements regarding the usefulness of Gradescope. As you can see in these tables, the survey results indicate the majority of the faculty agreed that Gradescope helped them grade more fairly, made the grading more enjoyable, and the grading requests simpler and faster. It also offered transparency about the grading scheme to students. Most importantly, as shown in the pie chart, the faculty believed that Gradescope saved them significant grading time. A faculty panel discussion on their use of Gradescope was also held during Harvey Mudd College's Bite of Learning, which is a lunchtime speaker series aiming to foster innovation in the use of technology in teaching and learning. 3 faculty hosted the discussion. They were from the Department of Chemistry, the Department of Biology, and the Department of Computer Science. They had used the Gradescope for less than a year, about a year, and about 4 to 5 years respectively. The panel discussion concluded Gradescope is a beneficial teaching tool. First, in terms of giving feedback, pedagogically, faculty can adjust the rubrics on the fly, so they can give really detailed feedback because they only have to type in the feedback once. Secondly, whether would be the first exam or the last exam, students get the same quality feedback from the faculty. In this way, faculty can think more about what they want their students to learn instead of worrying about the consistency of their grading. As faculty can set up Gradescope so they do not see the student's name while grading, this lets them be more objective in evaluating the student work. In terms of the flexibility, logistically, for example, the chemistry faculty is teaching a 240-student class with fellow faculty members. They would end up with 240 stacks of exams several times a semester, and each faculty member is responsible for a given problem. So they would be swapping around these big stacks of exams. They would carry exams home, worry about losing them, but with uploading everything onto Gradescope, the entire teaching team have the flexibility in time and space to grade the exams. Besides, with AI assistance, Gradescope can automatically group similar student answers such as short text, short equations, numerical answers, and multiple choices together, and this can greatly decrease the grading time. And in addition, in terms of the programming assignments, Gradescope can auto-grade such assignments, and faculty can run the coding themselves, debug it, which makes it really easy for them to locate the errors and help students.
ARC's team helped to create a seamless learning experience for students for CS70, that is the computer science course offered every semester. Most assignments in this course require coding, and the autograder in Gradescope turned out to be very useful for grading those coding assignments. In the next slide, I will share how Gradescope was integrated with various other tools used in this course. This chart illustrates how Gradescope interacts with other tools that are used in the CS70 course. As you can see, there are 3 different tools: Learning Management System Sakai, Docker, and GitHub plus GitHub Classroom. The learning management system used for this course is Sakai, but the integration works the same for other LMS. Since we have institutional license for Gradescope, that lets us integrate Gradescope with our authentication system. This means that the faculty and students don't have to create separate accounts on Gradescope and simply use their Harvey Mudd accounts for logging in. Gradescope also automatically syncs roster and gradebook with the LMS, and it provides an LTI tool so that faculty and students can easily access Gradescope from within the LMS. This course uses C++ language for coding, which has many compilers. It often happens that the code that works on one computer might not work on another. For this purpose, we used the Docker tool to provide pre-configured computing environment, which is same for all students. Gradescope itself uses Docker for running its autograder, so it is easier to match the two Docker images. GitHub is used to keep track of the changes made by each student in the team and to share the code files within the team. Gradescope also lets students submit their coding assignment directly from GitHub, so the professors can also check the revision history to see the changes made by each student in the team during the course of the project. So now we will see how the student workflow looks like. Students first get their assignments from the GitHub Classroom. They work on it by running their code on Docker, saving it on GitHub, then again pulling it from GitHub to make changes by running on Docker and saving it back on GitHub. This cycle takes place several times by the students in the team, as each one of them work on different parts of the code and save and share it with the teammates. Once they are done working on it, students submit their assignments on Gradescope using their GitHub accounts. They can check their final grades on Sakai or whichever LMS is in use.
So at the end of the semester for our CS70 course, we asked the faculty to add a few questions to their course survey. In this, we asked if the auto-grading feature of Gradescope was useful for them for their testing and programming assignments, to which the majority said yes, that they strongly agreed. And the next highest was also agreed. The next question was, using Gradescope to submit GitHub repositories for grading was easy, to which the vast majority of the class strongly agreed, and the next highest was also agree. The next question that we asked was, using Gradescope to submit assignments made it easier for me to submit regrade requests. And again, here we have the majority of students saying that they strongly agreed. The next up was neutral, which we assumed to mean that they didn't need to ask for regrade requests. And then one after that was again agreed. Our next question was, the integration of Gradescope with Sakai, our LMS, was useful to me. And the majority here said neutral. And the rest of the responses are kind of roughly around the same, to which we assume to mean that it was kind of transparent to their use of the LMS and Gradescope. Our last question was, the how-to wiki tutorial was useful for me to learn how to use Gradescope. And again, here the majority of our answers were neutral. And the strongly agree and agree were kind of neck and neck as the next answer. All right, so we are going to leave you with some additional questions to ponder. So has your school been implementing online and or automated grading tools already? If so, think about how that process has gone. Where can you in your role help to smooth that transition or address issues that may have come up? The next thing is, what obstacles or concerns did your institution face when moving grading to an automated system? We know that we have run into some barriers with some faculty and even some departments that are wholeheartedly against the idea. But I think that comes with almost any new technology innovation, especially in this space, that you're going to have people that will hold up lots of banners and flags of why the old way is the best way and the new way is making things easier or enables cheating or something along those lines. And almost time over time again, we found that not to be the case. I think back to when we implemented lecture capture in our classrooms, and faculty swore that it would make it so that students didn't come to class. And we found that that is wholeheartedly wrong, that students still come to class, but they're able to spend more time reviewing the material that they've learned when they have access to recordings later. So what things like that have you experienced in your institution, or do you foresee experiencing in your institution? All right, so if anybody has any questions and would like to reach out to us, we have this handy little email address. It is arcs-l@g.hmc.edu. If you have questions, comments, want to just chat about instructional technology in any capacity, feel free to reach out. We're always happy to talk to members of other institutions. And with that, I will leave you all. Thank you for tuning into this. I hope you all are being safe and keeping your sanity about you as we go through this very difficult time. And thank you.